Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
I guess sometimes us sensitive types just need another guy to work things through with.
That's true. We got Chris.
You having fun, Cue Ball?
And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. We're talking about some Captain America. It's been a while since we read some Captain America, but we have been very slowly working our way up to the death of Captain America by Ed Brubaker, Steve Epting, the fairly iconic run from the mid-2000s here. We read The Winter Soldier and all that stuff. And then, Civil War happened, and now this is picking up right after a Civil War with issues 25 through 30, where he actually dies. Is where we've reached the death. And then we're continuing Earth X, number 8. Y'all, this might have been the best issue of Earth X.
It's actually pretty good. And then
really
I read
good.
the whole annotated area in the back.
It was so different from the rest of them.
Well, and last issue we mentioned was getting better. So
It was.
This is continuing from last issue. So I liked this one as well.
Yeah, so we'll get to that at the end of the episode here, at the end of the show. But let's jump into Captain America. I feel like people know who Captain America is. They know who the Winter Soldier is from the movies. They've seen the Civil War movies. We don't need to do much recap. You can just pretend like it's all basically the same.
Just go back in our past. We've covered we started 3 years ago, Kia. You corrected me. I said it was maybe 2 years. We've been doing this for 3 years. We started March 2021 with episode 148. So just ratchet back there, and we've done 4 episodes. This is our 5th on the Brubaker Epting run. So here we are.
So watch it. So listen to every episode from 143 onwards if you want to know what we're talking about. Let's just jump straight into Captain America number 25 here. We start with a quick little origin story recap, and then it immediately picks up right after Civil War, where Cap has surrendered to the authorities. He's going to give in to the Superhuman Registration Act. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah.
The news is kind of recapping what happened during Civil War and all that, and they're doing a hearing for Captain America in New York. They're transferring him from SHIELD custody over to the government. They're about to do the the perp walk, where he's being walked to the courthouse. That's not the perp walk.
Much like Boomerang, he's in full
Yes, definitely. We've had a few of those in a row here. We've got Sharon Carter, Agent 13. She's in the crowd. She is, famously a partner and a lover of Captain America's. She's talking to Nick Fury, who is underground now. He does not lead S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. Tony Stark is leading S.H.I.E.L.D. But Tony Stark is on the comms with both her. She does not want to put Cap behind bars, of course. We get a little recap of her life, her history with Steve, all that. Bucky's there too, also talking to Nick Fury. I don't remember Bucky turning good earlier in the series. Did we read that? We must have.
I mean, he was kind of I was reading this book live as it was happening. So the run started in 04, and this is February 07, if I remember correctly. So it's been going on for about 2.5 years. I think, not in my memory, but us rereading it, I think Cap and Bucky only met once for one brief fight. And I remember thinking oh, this is fun. And they're back to their old patterns. And then Bucky's still kind of guilt ridden by what he's done as an assassin and being brainwashed.
Because Cap used the cosmic cube to cure his brainwashing, but it also made him remember all the stuff he'd done. So he's he was all angsty and ran away.
So he's only run into Steve once. I don't think y'all read Winter Kills, but I read Winter Kills recently, where he hung out with the Young Avengers and gave them some mentoring over Christmas. So he's kind of an anti-hero. He's still uses methods that other people wouldn't use, kind of thing.
And he also showed up in the London arc that we did. Yeah. That was, I think, the last one we covered. I don't remember now. I think that's right.
Yeah, we covered the London and the Civil War all in one episode. Yeah, is what we did.
You'll notice we're going to talk a lot about Captain America's the other characters in the story. What do you call that? His
supporting cast.
Supporting cast. They're very important to this story, as you'll see.
Well, I mean, as I had joked, not knowing that the death of a Captain America was about to happen, was man, Brubaker really doesn't seem to care that much about Steve and cares a lot about his supporting cast. Way more. It's Steve is just kind of this boring Boy Scout character. And he actually wrote Steve Rogers pretty well, better than I think most writers wrote him, don't get me wrong. But he also was the least interesting character of his own book. So I mean, and that's superhero comics for you often. Doctor Strange is the least interesting person in Doctor Strange comics often in movies, so it makes sense.
Batman is the least interesting character in Batman.
Yeah, so.
That's true.
Hot takes. Did y'all read this book live, by the way?
I was, yes.
I thought I did, but honestly, I think that this first issue of this run, 25, I don't remember if I said it. It's issues 25 through 30 that we're reading. It's collected in a trade called Death of the Dream. But I think I read number 25 where he dies, and I don't think I read anything more after that. I think this was when I was just kind of out of comics after Civil War.
So, So I remember being like kind of getting a hint on the internet. This is pre-Twitter even? Definitely me on Twitter. It was like, there's something big with Captain America comics. And I come to get my comics, and I'm like, I guess I'll get it after class. And I went and got my comics, and there's this guy sad in the comic book store. He's like, Captain America's dead. And I'm like, fucking get over yourself, man. Also, I got Captain Marvel and Captain America confused. So I thought that Captain America had already died of cancer like a few years ago and he was fine. So I was like, yeah, this happens. Captain America dies. What the fuck? Who gives a shit? Even though I like this book, like it's going to be undone. Who cares? Spoiler alert, it was. So that was like my reading. And then also my comic book, it was like flying off the shelves. And my comic book store held the variant cover for me, which is this real shitty Ed McGuinness cover that I really don't like. Like the real cover is like real nice and like really,
very cartoony.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, why the fuck did you give this to me, comic book store guy? I was very upset. But I think it's a really elegant comic because like Brubaker knows this is gonna like draw people to a comic book store. They're gonna read on USA Today that like Captain America died, and they're gonna wanna go and read it. So like. The way this starts is like he establishes all of the supporting cast and then kills Captain America, which we're just about to get to, about a third of the way through the book, rather than like ending the cliffhanger on that. And I think that's very smart for like the people like you came to see this, let's do this, and then I'm going to sell you on the rest of the story, except for Kia. Kia's going to drop out. But
yeah,
no, it is good. I'm glad I read this. Yeah.
I can briefly tell my story because this was 2007, right, in the spring.
Yeah.
So I had just moved back to Houston, and I was supporting a very small local comics shop that has since moved, I think, 2 or 3 times. It still exists under a different name. But I just basically made friends with the owner, and he's just like, I will get it for you. Don't worry. And so I read this probably like 3 months after it came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just flying off the shelves, and he couldn't order enough to actually get it enough for his subscribers.
Wow.
And so he did eventually get enough, but they were getting like Diamond or whoever was handling it was like, we'll give you like 5 copies or 10 copies. And it's just like literally like everyone was walking in and like paying him double the street price. And he's just like, well, okay, I'll get it to you.
All right. Well, we've got our history with the comic. We've got the supporting cast's history with Steve. I think we've set the stage. Let's keep rolling through it here. We do the perp walk. Everyone in the crowd there is like yelling questions at him, like, why did you betray the country? Things like that. And, you know, the guard who's leading is like, he's got no comment. Someone throws a tomato at his face. Do people still do that? Did they ever actually throw tomatoes at people?
Yeah, I feel like you have to have a lot of tomatoes on hand to throw them at people.
I kind of like my tomatoes slightly underripe and kind of firm, so I think they'd hurt. They would not.
Yeah, just beaning someone.
Yeah.
They don't even break.
But then right after that, Steve notices a like sniper rifle laser focus on the back of one of the cops, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And we have Lucan and Faustus. They're watching TV. They're our main bad guys. Lucan is still, sharing a body with Red Skull in his head there, and Faustus is kind of the mind control dude. They're watching TV and they look at it, and he's like, "Oh, look at this guy! I can see the look in his eyes. Even in his condition, he's noticed the sniper." And Faustus is like, "Should we call it off?" And I'm like, "No, this is how we wanted it to play out." They kind of made sure he got.
He can't do shit. He's not. I mean, like he can see it. He's not like he's going to be able to do shit about it.
And Steve gets shot. It looks like right through the back of the neck in this panel, but I think it's his shoulder. We see it later. Sharon runs up to him. Is like, "Oh my God, Steve!" And then we see a gun right up at Steve's chest. We get 3 shots right to the gut, and Sharon afterwards is yelling, "No!" holding him. Quick death here. Falcon descends from a helicopter and flying in. Bucky's running up. He's like, trying to find where the sniper was, but he's gone. He's bolted. Then the Falcon busts into where he thought the sniper was, and he sees Bucky, and he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you did this!" But they clear it up pretty quick. It's not like a classic superhero misunderstanding where they fight. He's like, "No. I was looking for the same guy you were. He's gone."
Yes.
And he tells Falcon to fly him out because Fury said that one of these choppers swooped low and grabbed the shooter, so they go after it. It looks like it was Crossbones, who's a recurring villain in the show, working for Red Skull. Dating Red Skull's daughter, Sin. He was in the movie.
He's in Captain America 2, right?
And
Yes,
3.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that causes the explosion that kicks off the Superhero Registration Act. It's very consistent.
So Falcon is carrying Bucky up to this helicopter. Bucky's shooting at them. It's a nice little, very, very visually interesting scene.
I don't love flying aircraft through skyscrapers trying to make them crash in New York City. That always seems like an image you don't want to repeat.
It's a helicopter.
It's a helicopter. It's fine. Okay.
All
right,
Crossbones.
I'm cool. All right.
Can't melt steel beams.
Crossbones jumps out of the helicopter and tackles Bucky like away from the Falcon, and they have a pretty rough landing on a rooftop. This seems like it would have killed both of them.
Yeah, I like how later Crossbones is like, I'm not. This is gonna be so easy now that I don't have a fractured skull. It's like you did that to yourself.
Yeah.
You jumped out of a plane and fell like 60 feet.
Red Skull's daughter Sin is watching this as well. Calls her dad. So Crossbones and Bucky fight a little bit on a roof. Crossbones is down, and Falcon shows up. Says he can handle the rest, and Bucky should get out of there. We see an ambulance rushing Steve to the hospital. Was this ambulance panel reversed for y'all? The copy that I was reading had like the ambulance letters on the ambulance backwards.
No, that's how they are. So that people can read ambulance in their rearview mirror.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot that. I felt like it was an error, and I got.
Look, it's too smart for you.
Too smart for me. Okay, hold on. I think I can recognize an ambulance in my rearview mirror, like regardless of what's written on it.
Like
The only thing is, it says the letters ambulance,
but it says it backwards. But like, I feel like I don't know. I'm like, is it that much cognitive dissonance to be like, what the fuck is that word? It's like, you have to read it reverse because it's a mirror, man. Like I'm a good reader, so I'm like, I don't know, like where people like at a lower reading level, like how they feel about mirrored letters. I don't know if I want to come down with a hot take on this or not.
Well, some people are real dumb. That's just how it is.
But they're allowed to drive. They're allowed to drive, but they can't read words backwards. That's my hot take. Okay.
That's
It's a cognitive load. It's just like an extra thing. We're like, I think I'm not even paying attention. I'm just hearing the sirens. Like, where the fuck is that? And I look around.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's my experience.
Yep. We didn't mention Sin as she was talking or watching this fight. She's wearing like scrubs and going into a hospital.
Yeah, and I did like how the Red Skull. Yeah, she's like clearly putting on a wig. She's gonna be somewhere. And then I liked how she's talking to her dad and he's like, Crossbones did his job. He's great. It's not gonna slow us down. Just keep going. And I like that scene. I'm like, that's a good like character trait. Means he's got a plan. He's got it together. Crossbones isn't necessarily a part of it, but we still appreciate him.
So at the hospital here, it's like kind of an overnight situation. Sharon's just staying there. She's splashing water on her face in the hospital room, and this nurse walks in, which I didn't realize was Sin, but it is Sin in disguise. I really didn't. I just didn't notice her. I thought it was just some person working for Red Skull. Well, it doesn't matter who.
The book is outsmarted you once again.
Once again, I'm too stupid for this. I can't read backwards. And she walks in and says, "Hey, the doctor wanted me to tell you something, Sharon." And she's like, "Which doctor?" "Dr. Faustus." He says, "Remember." Sharon falls into like a little trance and remembers what happens. And she remembers that she is the one who shot Steve Rogers up close. And she has a little meltdown. Oh my God, she's the one who killed him. What? Wow.
So I have a few questions.
Sure.
One, is just anybody saying the word remember gonna like trigger those thoughts? Because that seems like it's a ticking time bomb. Like that's gonna
I had this same thought with one of the other ones later with Bucky, but yeah, it does seem a little strange. But maybe it is like you got to say Dr. Faustus first. Remember, something like that. That's possible.
Yeah. I do love Sin's design though. She's got the freckles to establish like this is the same character. Like the good continuity of imagery. It's really good.
Absolutely. I love that continuity of imagery that helped me tell that was him.
And then the other thing is this hospital has way less security than the Black Cat had in our Octopus War.
True.
Yeah.
Tony cheaping out.
It's because Captain Jean DeWolf is dead. She doesn't.
It's true.
Yeah. All right, so on to issue number 26. Arnim Zola is on the cover. Love that guy.
God,
He's
these covers
barely
are
in
so
this
good.
comic. Yep. But
the other reason you may have dropped Kia is they took 3 months in between issues. By the way,
Yes.
it had nothing to do with that. I think I was done with comics.
Okay.
The other reason my comic shop guy, I think I got both these issues the same day.
Mm-hmm. Probably a big second printing. That makes sense.
It was the first printing. I'll give him credit.
Wow.
I don't know where he got it, but
Did you get the shitty Ed McGuinness cover?
no, I got the regular cover with the handcuff on the newspaper.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good cover. So issue 26, Sharon is talking to her friend Val.
Is that Elaine from Seinfeld?
What?
What is it? Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's in the Marvel Universe now.
She is?
Yeah.
It's not that character, is it? I don't remember.
Countess Fontaine? She's putting together the Thunderbolts now, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Good. Hey, good for Elaine.
She's
no, I
also
don't.
in Black Panther 2.
Yeah, this character is not particularly important, but I
yeah, it is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine, former Madame Hydra. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep, that's her, I guess. That's crazy.
Well, anyways, her friend Val is saying you can kind of tell something's wrong with Sharon. Sharon doesn't want to talk about it. We get a flashback to 5 days ago where Tony Stark is on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier and telling Sharon that they transferred Steve's body to S.H.I.E.L.D. in the middle of the night and didn't, Sharon's like, why didn't you tell me? Blah, blah, blah. She's just kind of pissed at everything. Steve's body looks rough. It's like gaunt and old with gunshots and like rib cage showing. And Sharon is just, are they like running experiments or something on him? It doesn't seem like, they're just like, Sharon is just not happy with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out why his body has aged after he died. I will say, as much as we loved the cover and all of the art here, I don't know if it's Mike Perkins' inking or something, but everything looks a little weird in this scene. Like Tony's face looks weird. Sharon is like very clearly like I don't know what it's from, but it's like this is someone. Like it's the tracing is I think getting a little.
There's a lot of
hand.
tracing. Yeah.
There's a not to besmirch Perkins, but Perkins often seems like he draws the head and then draws the face like smaller within it, like the eyes and like the head looks too big for the faces he draws, and then like the slap page like. It's just such a weird angle, and like Sharon like changes. I instantly know like this isn't Epting. I can already tell. I couldn't figure out who, but I definitely sure shit know it isn't Epting.
Yeah, it's definitely because you're just like, what's wrong with Tony's face?
Yeah,
before he slapped.
Yeah.
That said, I do love Red Skull's face and the weird shape of his head. It's so weird.
I think Epting drew some. I think Epting may have drawn the first few pages and then not.
Yeah, the mask with Red Skull, that's Epting for sure.
Yeah.
God, that's what sold me on the entire book. Was like, man, this Red Skull looks cool. Like way back in issue 1.
I love it because he's wearing a mask, and so it's like weird and loose in parts.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, Sharon slaps Tony and resigns from S.H.I.E.L.D. She's no longer a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, no longer Agent 13. Then back in the present, Sharon was headed to a wake at a bar where Sam Wilson, the Falcon, is there. Dum Dum Dugan, the Thing, Rick Jones shows up. And Sharon just cannot deal with talking to everyone. She goes to the bathroom.
Well, it's also like the motherfuckers who killed Captain America.
Yeah, this is the pro registration nerd wake. Wonder Man shows up, and you're like, oh, good.
Oh, God. Thanks for being here.
Captain America's best friend, Wonder Man.
But yeah, Sharon, she's crying in the bathroom, having, continuing to. This is all
racked with guilt.
Yeah.
It is funny. Carol Danvers shows up before she gets her like haircut and looks like Brie Larson and everything, and she just has Agent 13's face.
Yeah, I was like, oh, look, there's 2 Sharons in this scene.
We've got Sin and the Red Skull. They're watching the news. Sin is a little upset that Crossbones got mad and the media won't even say his name. And Red Skull's like, don't worry, well, he's going to be rewarded for his sacrifice. We're going to take care of him. Sin has also chosen her new subordinates. She's ready to move forward. She's going to have a little team. Then afterwards, Faustus asks the Red Skull if he's going to be in his office for their regular session tonight. And Red Skull's like, I'm going to go wherever the fuck I want to go, bitch. Not in those exact words, but they have a little bit of a spat with each other. They don't get along, but they kind of need each other. Then Arnim Zola interrupts them, friend of the show. Is Arnim Zola a friend of the show? He's my friend.
Yes.
He interrupts to show the progress that he's made. He's reverse engineering some Doom tech. He still doesn't know what it does, but he's gonna be able to do something with it. And then we don't really see
time travel stuff.
Again. Probably.
Hell yeah.
Red Skull / Lucan has a meeting in the afternoon with the Secretary of Treasury. He wants Faustus in on it. And then we get the secret superhero wake with the anti
cool dudes.
Yeah, the cool people. I didn't actually write anything about this scene. It didn't seem particularly important, other than it felt like it was going to be something, because every time they saw Sam Wilson, the Falcon, in this issue, was like, "Hey man, great speech at Cap's funeral," and he's like, "Oh, thanks." And we never actually got to see it. Everyone's just like, "You told such a great speech, dude."
Peter Parker aggressively off model in this scene.
Was it? You're right. He looked very strange.
And
this is Perkins art. You can tell.
And he's in his his black suit.
Yeah, his black regular suit, not the symbiote.
Yeah, because he's now moody.
He's stealth Spider-Man.
I don't know why I got bothered by everybody in these skin tight outfits drinking wine. I'm like, these people would not do that. If they're that fit, they would not be drinking wine. Like, it bothered me.
Cap just died. It's a good excuse.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I do like that. Who was it? Spider-Woman is like, hey, Jessica Jones was just pointing out that we haven't even busted into this wine yet. And Jessica's like, I'm a nursing mother. I did not say that.
Night Nurse is right there. It looks like Ronan. Is that probably Hawkeye?
Night Nurse's face freaked me the fuck out.
Terrifying face.
What is that? Nurse. It looks like she's growing out of Jessica. And Jessica Jones's face. It's like they're whatever.
I agree.
I feel like the heads were drawn first, and then faces were drawn on 3 days later or something.
I'm not sure either was drawn. I think they were just like,
this is AI art. Is that what it is?
Yes,
this is AI art.
I was gonna say, not to talk about wrestling too much, but did you see the WWE 2K trailer about the history of WrestleMania, Kia? And they had a picture, an AI generated Stone Cold, and it was very similarly like you just sort of mapped his face onto a skull, right? And it doesn't quite fit. Very terrifying.
Incredible. I want to see that now. So meanwhile, Bucky is out at some bar. He gets in a fight with some redneck who's saying Steve turned on the country. Someone else is like talking about cover-ups or whatever. So Bucky starts beating everyone up. Bartender calls the police, but Bucky straight up just destroys this bar, and literally everyone in the bar other than him and the bartender is knocked out. And he can't help but think that Steve would be ashamed. Then the Falcon shows up, and he's like, "Please tell me these are like AIM agents or something like that." And he's like, "No." And then
the guy he beats the crap out of first has a Navy tattoo. So yeah, he's attacked a veteran, but Bucky's a veteran too, so he's allowed.
Yeah, it's okay. It's allowed.
But are they both Army? Is Cap and Bucky their Army?
I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then
Namor's in the Navy.
Yes. Then. At the bar, they've been showing the video footage of the funeral and everything, and Tony Stark is talking, and Tony Stark kind of breaks down a little bit, and Bucky just kind of hates him, and he's like, you know what? He's decided his internal narrative. He's going to kill Tony Stark.
Hell yeah! It's a good cliffhanger.
Yep. On to issue number 27. Tony has a press conference about the new Avengers, but it is derailed about all this Captain America stuff.
It's funny, but like from a press question, like who's gonna be the new Captain America? We need to have somebody in that role. It's like, do we replace Jobs? Like, we always have a Captain America. We always have a Superman. No. We just add fucking heroes whenever. Like, why are we saying we have to have a Captain America? You also fucking realize there's only one person with the super soldier thing. These are all things that, like, Tony Stark's anger translator should say. Because I'm just like, this is the stupidest fucking question I've ever heard. Like, somebody has to be Captain America. Like, no, they don't. No, they don't. That's dumb.
Yeah,
I agree with you, but it is a symbol, and
Yeah.
the symbol is more important than the
Yeah.
symbol.
I guess Captain America is more important than, like, do we need to have an Iron Man? No. But we
Yeah,
do.
we've had multiple Iron Men.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But we don't need him. We don't need We don't need Iron Mans. I do like how in like Falcon and Winter Soldier they were like instantly like, we're gonna get Kurt Russell's kid to be the new Captain America. I thought that was very cool how they like branded that. Felt very much like the Boys TV show.
Yes. Oh well, yeah. That was based on that story. That have we done that of U.S.
No,
agents?
that's on the
origin?
list. That's
No.
always on the list. We should do that one
One
eventually.
day, one day.
One day we'll do it. They bring back U.S. Agent.
He's gonna be in Thunderbolts next year.
There we go.
Bucky is in DC now. He's waiting to be let into the new Captain America exhibit at the Smithsonian. But he's really just kind of casing the place so he can steal the costume and the shield that they have on display there. And he's like looking at everything. This old lady walks up and was like, "Oh, wasn't he wonderful? My dad was saved by Captain America and Bucky and the invaders in the war." Bucky's like, "Oh, where?" He's like, "At the Battle of Saipan." And Bucky's like, "Oh, yeah, great. And then afterwards, he's saying, "I know that the invaders were not at that battle, but I'm not going to kill this lady's memories. Her dad was just telling stories."
I mean, it would be pretty difficult to be like, well, actually, I know that's false.
Right.
lady.
How do you know?
This scene was in Captain
Oh,
America
it was.
Winter Soldier,
You're right,
wasn't
you're
it?
right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this whole bit. I was like, I remember all of this. This is in a movie.
It was great, and the movie had Gary Sinise like narrating the documentary, which is very fucking like on point.
Yes,
with
yeah.
all
The
the World War II
Forrest
docs.
Gump.
Yeah, it was so brilliant. I was like, yes, Gary Sinise 100% would do this in the real world. If Captain
Well, Tom
America-
Hanks would in the real world, but they
Oh,
don't
I
have the
guess
money
that's
for
true.
Tom Hanks.
they can't get Tom Hanks money. They're going to
They
get
should get-
Lieutenant Dan.
Yep.
No, they should make Tom Hanks Captain America.
A little late.
So he also is looking at this replica. Well, he's looking at the shield and he realizes it's a replica. It's not Cap's real shield, of course not. Meanwhile, Sharon is at home. She has been drinking. She's sitting on the edge of her tub, holding a gun to her neck. But Faustus talks to her, saying she can't pull the trigger, just like she can't tell her friends what she did. Sharon breaks the mirror, saying, "Get out of my head," all that. Meanwhile, Sam flies up to the window to her apartment, scares Sharon, and points the gun at him. Says Fury has a job for them both. Winter Soldier has gone off the grid. They need to track Bucky down. Tony, meanwhile, is on a video call with a scientist at S.H.I.E.L.D. This scientist is working on a compromised Nick Fury life model decoy that took out a few agents.
That's in both of our stories.
It is in both of our stories.
Crossover.
Yes. It's been, and he's like trying to investigate, see where it's like what's going on with it. But this life model decoy, this LMD, has been erasing its own memory hourly, and that's all they've been able to find out so far. They don't know who's controlling it, but whoever is controlling it knows more stuff about what they've got in there. They know they got Cap's shield, probably some other stuff. So they are super compromised. But Tony is busy. He's with the president, the UN secretary. He's like, "Look, just call a red alert. I'll have somebody contact you. Yeah, we'll be fine."
He's in a meeting right now with them, and he's doing a video chat.
I was confused about that as well. It's like, hold on, president. I need to talk to this scientist about this Nick Fury life model decoy.
Like I mean, I would think he'd be like doing like a chat, like while he's like, "Look, I can't deal with this right now. Tap, 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 tap. I'm in a meeting with the president, but I'll deal with you later." Like if it was like a chat thing, I could absolutely see Tony Stark doing that. It was very weird though. Maybe like a meeting is like a summit in their head, and they're like on a 15-minute break or something.
Oh yeah, maybe that could.
Maybe.
But it apparently was Bucky who was controlling this life model decoy. He's watching, or maybe with Nick Fury's help, possibly. No, he's off the grid from Nick Fury, so no. But he watches as they start to relocate the shield, just as he expected. He sees 4 vans driving away from Shield. The classic, oh, it's 4 of them, and only one of them has the shield. Which one are you gonna follow? And Bucky's like, I'm not gonna follow any of them. And he waits, and another single car drives away afterwards. The car can fly, so Bucky takes it down from underneath, and it is Black Widow in there. who he calls Natalia, and then later in the issue they call Natasha because this was like Natalia was like her Russian name, and now she's Natasha, right? I can never remember with her.
There may
And
have been a thing where they just like fucked up, like in her early
that too,
appearances
that too.
too, and
Yeah.
this is the way to like
Yeah.
retcon that.
But Bucky is surprised that Black Widow was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. Bucky helped train her back when they were both part of like the Red Room program that they were both kind of indoctrinated in and all that stuff. And
this is the first time they're introducing this backstory, right?
Are they? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think because like I remember this being here, but I was like I don't think this was in the previous issues we read. Like I think this is now when they're starting to give Bucky a more robust backstory that he knew Natasha, Black Widow, back in like the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like the way, because later they're like, oh, they were like lovers, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, it's not
think
necessary, really. Yeah.
Yeah, that really needs to be there.
Yeah, it felt weird. Like it just comes out of seemingly nowhere. Like they're just trying to give him more backstory. It's kind of a weird tangent.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But they fight. Bucky beats her up, takes the shield. Sharon and Sam later see the aftermath and try to pick up his trail. Meanwhile, Black Widow is like concussed after this fight, knocked out. She's in the shield little hospital ward thing. Tony's checking on her. And Natasha's wondering why he never mentioned the Winter Soldier was out there, and Tony really wasn't sure himself. She downplays their relationship, but she does remember when they like punished Bucky and put him in this tube thing. Yeah, it's not important. But Natasha does say that she thinks Bucky is coming after Tony. On to number 28.
I
Bucky
love this cover, by the way. This is my...
Which cover is this?
The Serpent Squad.
Oh, yeah, the Serpent.
Yeah, with Sin.
I like the colors on this.
Like the way that like Epting like just does his like painting for this. It's like just a really cool thing with like the snake image behind it. It's just like a really... It's very Steranko-esque, but it's a very...
It is Jim Steranko-esque. Okay.
It's good.
Bucky walks out of his shitty motel. He smiles because some guy is downstairs debating in favor of Steve, saying he was assassinated and silenced. And Bucky's like, yeah, he's still inspiring people. Professor X is trying to interrogate Crossbones mentally, psychically, which is where Chris's quote came from, right? The cue ball line. But Professor X is telling Tony afterwards, like, someone has erased pieces of that man's memory, and like, not in a clean way, like very haphazard. This guy doesn't even know that Red Skull is alive. Yeah, Professor X can't get anything out of him.
It is weird that Professor X shows up and is just like, oh, here he is walking around.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yes.
I was more like, why? Like, I forgot that this was like the time when like all of the older heroes just decided to be like huge like government dicks with their Illuminati stuff. I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like the idea of Professor X working on the behalf of the government to like root around in people's minds. I don't like it.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's I mean, it's weird that it happens at all, because in like 3 or 4 years they would be like, no, don't put an X-Men character in this book,
right?
Because then we won't be able to put it in the movie. But yeah, it's just, I don't think it really fits his character. They should have gotten like a lower level guy anyway, because it feels like Professor X shouldn't, like, even Emma Frost would make more sense than Professor X doing this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we've got Sin and I kept writing the Serpent Society in my notes. Were they called the Serpent Society at one point? Or have they always been the Serpent Squad?
Now I don't even know. They may have been. I may have come up with Serpent Squad on my own.
No, they're definitely called the Serpent Squad in this book. It took a while for them to actually name the Serpent Squad and the people there. And yeah, they definitely are the Serpent Squad. Maybe I'm just making up Serpent Society. That's my group. They're attacking some office with guards. Apparently, this is a nerve center for the Asian stock market. They have not crashed the market altogether, but they've banged it up enough for what the Red Skull needs. Sam says that. Meanwhile, Sam, Falcon, and Sharon, they're saying like, "Hey, maybe we should talk to Shield." And Sharon says she just doesn't trust them right now. We jump to a Shield psychiatrist who is just finishing up with his last patient for the day. He tells his secretary to hold his calls. Dr. Faustus is in there with him. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Some other agent is meeting with Tony.
Well, and not only is Dr. Faustus there, but the secretary is like, I'll pretend you're not even here, sir.
Yes.
Dr. Faustus is like, heh.
This random S.H.I.E.L.D. agent is telling Tony Stark, like, hey, there needs to be a Captain America. I'll volunteer to wear the costume. And Tony's like, no. The S.H.I.E.L.D. is retired. Nobody's going to be Captain America anymore. Sends him out.
He's like, sir, I have a blonde hair and a strong chin. I'd like to volunteer to be Captain America.
Shit. Tony Stark's secretary says, hey, there's a guy here who has a letter from Steve Rogers. It's some attorney who walks in. It's like, oh, Tony Stark, you're a very hard man to meet with. But I have a letter that Steve Rogers wrote for you during the Civil War. I was told I had to give it only to you. Steve didn't want it in his will. He wanted it private, just between the two of you. But he says that there's enough personal stuff, and his handwriting should, prove that it is really him. And then that in the event of his death, Tony's the only one who could do what needs to be done. So he gives Tony the letter and leaves. He's like, this burden is yours now. I'm good. I'm done. Tony reads the letter, and he says, damn it, Steve. And he tells the secretary to get him the Black Widow. Bucky, meanwhile, is tracking Sin and AIM. He fights some AIM agents in some base somewhere. And one of them is saying, hey, we don't really know anything that's going on. We've only communicated with Sin and the Cobra. We're running counter surveillance. Like, hey, here's the list that we gave him. It's a list of S.H.I.E.L.D. monitoring stations and the names of the agents of each one. I don't know what they wanted for it, but here you go. This guy's a real pushover. I like that he shows up again.
Yeah.
Then Sin and the Serpent Squad are busting into S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, and one of the guards just let them in. And they beat up a few more, killed them, took their costumes. They've got some little image-altering devices to help them blend in.
This is just at the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent's apartment, I guess?
No, he lets them in later. They officially say that.
Yeah, so this is just in their house, because you can see, like, there's just, like, a loft, and this is
you're right. It's weird.
But yeah, Sin they have just been invited in, and they just killed all these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Yep. Although we don't really see any blood. They're just taking a big nap.
They're knocked out.
Tased. Yep. They're just napping. It also does the thing that I fucking love. It's stupid. Is wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. costume to look disguised, but they're still going to keep their like supervillain masks, like their Viper masks on.
Yeah.
They've got the image altering stuff. They don't have to.
Yep.
Then why are they putting on the S.H.I.E.L.D. costume? Is that just too much power?
They need a little bit. They can't
a little bit of a disguise.
They need a little bit of a disguise.
Just in case somebody sees them like out of their peripheral vision, and they're like, "Hey, is that the Viper?"
Yeah. Like, no, they're wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. costume. Can't be.
No, can't be.
I don't feel like TikTok filters. It's got to be a little more advanced than a TikTok filter, right? Like where it like puts shit on your face or something. Snapchat filter.
It's probably the same thing. Probably exactly the same.
Probably exactly the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So straight into the next issue. Oh yeah, they're going to rescue Crossbones is their goal. So straight into issue number 29. Tony and his secretary or something, they're watching what happened on the cameras the next day overnight. They identify the Serpent Squad. We got Eel, we got King Cobra, we got a new Viper, because I guess the old Viper was killed by Madam Hydra.
Well, no, Viper is, she was in the Wolverine, remember? Green hair, has venom powers or whatever.
Okay,
Madam Hydra is Viper. So they're like, maybe she'll kill this guy.
Interesting.
But she's not using that name anymore. Now she's going by Madam Hydra.
So Tony also, learns that this S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Patrick Stansfield, just let them in. And there's a dozen other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who were kind of supposed to be on watch in various places. They've gone missing. And so Tony orders that they, find a bunch of info on everyone. Black Widow is interrogating people, looking for Bucky. We get some monologuing from her jumping through the night. On buildings, and same for Bucky, talking about like, I can't believe S.H.I.E.L.D. let the Crossbones get away. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s being poisoned from the inside. But Bucky has one lead left. He has to go to the Cronus building, where he does not want to go back to, because those are the people who brainwashed him. And in there, Lufkin and the Skull are kind of having an argument inside Lukin's mind. I like this scene where, they're kind of, just a nice little them debating each other while the not real elements of the mind kind of, hold each other down.
Yeah, I love this scene, and I love the callback to it.
Yes. And they're kind of arguing over who has control of the brain, but Skull knows all of Lukin's secrets. He knows how important this is. He knows he won't throw it away. Then Sharon and Sam are fighting the same AIM agents that Bucky was fighting earlier. Sam is on fire somehow during this fight. He has to rip off his costume. It's very, very cheesecakey here.
And they just blast him with something, then he has to tear his shirt off.
Yeah. Sharon has her gun on a guard, and the guard's like, "Please don't kill me." And that just, causes a little bit of a meltdown from Sharon, who's remembering everything, a flashback of all that. I think this is the same guard who was ratting to Bucky, right? A very distinctive face, which I like. And Sharon's having her meltdown. This guard goes to attack Sharon, but Sam saves her.
Yeah, I do like that at first he's like, hey, are you? And then he grabs the gun and is going to shoot her in the back. Mm-hmm. Like, he's such a little spineless weasel.
We then have Black Widow sees Sam and Sharon flying away, and she's like, are they on the same trail that I am? Tony's going to want to hear about this. Then Bucky, at the end of this issue, sneaks up on Lukin during his conversation with the Skull. We kind of hear Lukin talking to himself in the apartment, and he's like, what the hell is he doing talking to himself? But it's the same lines from when they were talking in his mind. And he accuses Lukin of working with the Red Skull, and he's like, tell me where to find him. And Lukin finds that very amusing. He says Bucky has no idea what he's doing. And Crossbones and Sin come in, draw guns to Bucky's head. Another cliffhanger.
And yeah, because he's like, this is so ironic. You don't know what you're doing. He's like, what do you mean? And then Crossbones shows up. He's like, now do you get it?
Mm-hmm. So then Captain America number 30, the last issue that we are reading here tonight. Tony has realized that every agent who was off the grid has been seeing the same doctor for psych evals. And he sent a little squad in to check on the doctor, but they can't find him. The place is deserted. Natasha, Black Widow, calls Tony to talk about how she found Sam and Sharon, but then the squad in the doctor's office was like, wait, we found something. The doctor is dead in a freezer in his basement. He's been here a while. Gosh, shit. Back at Lukin's apartment, he puts on the Red Skull mask, and he's like, did you ever think that Lukin would work with the Skull willingly? And we get a nice little fight between Bucky and Sin and Crossbones. Bucky knocks out Sin pretty quickly. I like this line. It's like, have you ever fought anyone who wasn't an innocent bystander?
Yeah, that was good.
I do, like that he's mostly focusing on Crossbones and then is just like throwing stray kicks at her when she runs at him.
Mm-hmm. And he is about to kill Crossbones for killing Steve. And the Red Skull says, cold-blooded murder isn't something Steve would do. He's like, don't you say his name. Skull says, go ahead and kill me. You'll never find out who betrayed him. Oh, and one more thing, Sputnik. And Bucky goes cold. It's an old shutdown code from his Soviet handlers, but it'll only work once. Which, again, this is when I was like, well, I feel like the word Sputnik probably would come up in conversation fairly often.
He's not in like trivia contests or something.
He's not hanging out with me. He's not hanging out with me just talking about space shit all the time.
I mean, I don't know. There's something about it that I just feel like it would have come up here. But also, wasn't he supposed to be cured of all this stuff from the Cosmic Cube? What happened?
I guess it didn't remove all he remembered everything. It didn't.
It was
get rid of all his post-hypnotic suggestions.
Because it didn't take away the memories. It just made them more aware. I also don't understand how like a word is only used once. Like how you. Brainwashing with a keyword like that to begin with is, I guess, hokum. But
disclaimer: none of this is real. It's just comic books.
It's also said by a man who got shot, but then somehow was holding a cosmic cube, so he put his brain inside the guy who shot him, saying these words. That part makes sense to me. Yeah, that part makes sense. But Sputnik, that's where I draw the line.
I do love too, because I mean, Red Skull's such a huge piece of shit. His scenes with Zola and with Faustus, And then here, Crossbones is like, you could have done that at any time.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I could have. It's just I wanted to see how far he would go.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
I
had
have like
this-
3 broken ribs, dude.
I like this quote. I had to see if he was willing to kill you or if he was completely worthless to me, which I think is a good way of putting it.
Like, I have to go to a hospital now. Thank you.
Black Widow sneaks in through Sam Wilson's window while he's bandaged up from his burns, and
Black
kind of
Window.
surprises him. The Black Widow sneaks in through Sam's widow, and she's like, "Hey, we're on the same case, maybe for different reasons. We should work together." Sharon is crying again, this time because she's just found out that she's pregnant. She's looking at a pregnancy test, and she's like, "This has to be another trick of theirs." But then she kind of realizes, oh, I think Steve knew. Oh, shit. And I wrote down something here. I got a very like Reign of the Supermen vibe kind of thing here, where it's like, okay, Sam Wilson could be the next Cap, Bucky could be the next Cap, this new baby could be the next Cap, that random ass Shield agent could be the next Cap. It could be let's get a life model decoy in there as another Captain America. That'd be good.
Yep.
I think that
the central
random
question
Shield
here.
guy's dead, so he's out.
Who's dead?
That random Shield agent.
Oh, probably.
Because Tony's looking at his file and is like, why would he do this?
Yeah.
The one in the freezer? The one that got
No,
fridged?
No.
that was the black therapist guy, the guy who opened the door to them last issue.
Patrick Stansfield wouldn't do that.
No. That was not Patrick Stansfield asking to be Black Widow. I wrote down this guy's name and then didn't say it because it wasn't important. But I think it was Agent Herman or something like that.
Oh,
Different
maybe
guy.
it was a different guy.
Yeah. So that guy could still be. We could have a cyborg one as an LMD.
Yep.
We could have the Superboy one as the baby. We got Sam Wilson is as Steel, yeah. And we got to go between Bucky or that random Shield agent as what's that one Superman, the weird one with the sun power?
Eradicator.
Eradicator. What a name. Eradicator? Really? All right, whatever.
Yeah. They know how
I
to
thought
sell
he was
comics.
the coolest.
Yeah, they know how to sell comics. This is a good idea. This is a good thing to inspire debate on the internet. It's like who should wield the shield.
Definitely not Peggy because she's pregnant and also killed him, so she's out. Or Sharon, not Peggy.
Sharon, not Peggy.
Her Peggy was her aunt, as referenced in issue 25.
And if you've read Secret Invasion or listened to our episode, you know who's Captain America. So you know who's going to end up being Captain America.
Yes. All right. So Tony is reading the letter from Cap again. As the reader, we still don't know what this letter is. We've just seen little bits and pieces of it. Nothing important. And he says, "Computer, put the video file "Fallen Sun" on all screens." And it's like video angles, like every angle they have of the murder.
Computer, play Linkin Park, What I've Done.
Yeah. Bucky is watching the same thing
It's
in
2007,
captivity.
so that's new music.
I feel like, yeah. Bucky is captured. They're making him watch the death of Captain America 2. Faustus enters. He's very excited to meet Bucky. He's read so much about him. Feels like he knows him. Blows some smoke in his face. Tony is like watching this footage. He's mad that there's no good view of the murder from any of the cameras. You know, the crowd was like all chaotic and everything. And even Sharon was right there and said that she didn't see anything. Like, wait a minute. What? And he asks if his secretary, excuse me, it's like, hey, that list of the doctor's patients, did that include non-active agents as well? Ooh, Tony's got a lead. Sam and Natasha, meanwhile, are headed to Sharon's apartment to talk to her about kind of joining forces. And we see Faustus is in her head, getting her to suit up, getting her ready for action. She's got her gun. Tony has seen Sharon Carter's name on the list of people who went to the psychiatrist, calls Black Widow, is like, hey, we got a big problem. Change your plans. You got to take Agent 13 into custody. But before Tony can even finish saying that, Sharon Carter has blasted Sam and Black Widow.
And Red Wing.
And Red Wing, yeah. He calls a quick response team to that location, says he'll meet them there. Tony Stark suits up. He's like, all right, this is real now. We see Steve's letter as he leaves, asking Tony Please do not let Bucky drift back into anger and confusion. Help him find his way. Save him for me. America needs a captain now more than ever. Don't let that dream die. Oh, so he wants there to be another Captain America, which is not what Tony has been saying for the last 6 issues.
Like, P.S. not U.S. agent.
Yeah.
That guy's a jerk.
Yeah, that's where we leave it, with a nice big cliffhanger at the end of this arc where Bucky's captured, Sharon Carter is under mind control, and Black Widow and Falcon are knocked out.
Conveniently not with real bullet gun, just like a laser gun.
Like a taser thing. Yeah. Why didn't you kill him?
Maybe Sharon
Can't
knew,
kill Red Wing.
and Sharon like I gotta get real.
Is
guns
fighting
out
it?
of, I gotta get real guns out of my
Oh.
house.
That's a good idea. Also, though, I feel like Sharon should say something to someone. Like,
She's
hey,
not allowed to. That's part of
true.
Faustus's mind
That's
block.
part of it. You're right.
So the best she could do was just get real guns out of the house, I guess.
Yeah. But that's it for the death of Captain America. I'm sure we'll. This is kind of like a 3-part trade.
It's
deal,
18
right?
issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll come back to this eventually. Hopefully not too long, because I feel like we'll forget everything otherwise, because it does feel like this is very cliffhangery compared to some of the other ones. So we'll get back to this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, this is a good Empire Strikes Back sort of like, oh boy, things are not looking good for everybody. Steve dead, Winter Soldier captured, Sharon brainwashed, Black Widow, Falcon, and Red Wing shot by lasers. Looking bad.
Yeah, rough time. But yeah, overall, it is a great comic. It just reads fairly well. And with like a Captain America comic that didn't have any Captain America in it for 5 issues, but is still somehow entirely about Captain America, is like slightly brilliant. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this actually weirdly, I don't know why it didn't read as well for me as it used to. But that's also because like I had such high heights. But like, it does a good job of saying like, what does Captain America mean to people? Although not so much. But it really allows like all the supporting cast to like deal with like what the fallout is if you don't have like your main character, and then have good like driving forward narrative. Like they're not just like wallowing like in like funeral like grief. They're very much so like there's very much plot of like, well, what's happening next? What other plots are going on? What villains do we need to stop? Who's going to be the next Captain America? Like it's got a lot going on. Like so month to month comics, like you're getting a cliffhanger every issue. That's pretty satisfying. You're moving the needle forward for all the characters. Falcon came off way better for me this time than he has before. I think Falcon was a really good character. I think I was very much a Bucky boy back in the day. But yeah, like, and then Sharon's great. Like Sharon's got a lot going on. Tony's a good character. Like it's doing like a lot. And like I think that my frustration with like the Black Panther 2 movie was like they tried kind of to do this kind of stuff and they just didn't do it very elegantly the way that this comic, like when you lose your main character, like how does your supporting cast deal with that? And like I feel like the movie Black Panther 2 couldn't really do that as well. Although they like have real world connotations as opposed to just like Captain America's gonna be back alive in 2011, and
they also didn't have a comic to just take from. So they had to write their own story, right?
And a date they had to hit, and sets already being made. There was a lot of problematic with that movie. They did the best they could.
Yeah. Chris, how about you?
I really like this a lot. This was one of the books I was regularly reading, and I remember being frustrated. We may have talked about it in our England Civil War stuff. But I was like, oh man, this stupid Civil War stuff, because it's all so dumb. But I do think the book does a pretty elegant job of like folding Tony into the cast of like Winter Soldier being like, I'm gonna murder Tony, but like they don't even have a scene together yet, and it's like clearly he's just doesn't really know what's going on. So I'm like, I enjoy that Tony Stark is just this put upon character who's suddenly being like folded into the spy story, and that he's constantly like a step behind. I enjoy all of that. I do, Vince mentioned that Steve had been like the least interesting character. He also was like the guy who was in all the action scenes. So there's like whole issues with no action scenes at all, which is fine. but it is just kind of like I like action scenes, and I think Epting's art is really like the Black Widow fight is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I wish we had just a little scenes like this where like even if he's not in in an action scene, he's like doing something spy-y, just like Mission Impossible, like hanging off a building or something, because it's just cool. And so there's more of that in the back half, but the first half is all sort of like funeral stuff, and so they don't really do anything for like an issue and a half. Is my only minor complaint. Also in the art, I wish Butch Geis, who was Epting's like collaborator, who inked him and would also do some fill-ins. I wish he had been the co-artist on this arc, because his work looks like he can do a good version of Epting's art, and it's less distracting than when you're just like, wait, what happened to their faces?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the Black Widow and Bucky fight again. I think that was my panel of the week here, a very low-key panel of the week where Black Widow kicks Bucky in the chin from inside the car, and really all you just see is her leg sticking out of the car. For some reason, that panel just like tickled me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's cool, and I love her like design of like, because the shield is made for Captain America, so she has this like enormous backpack looking thing on her back.
And she was wearing it while she was driving. Maybe she put it on real quick. I guess that could make sense.
I guess, yeah, she probably put it on. No, she's just like a Ninja Turtle.
Yes. Yeah, good comic. We'll get back to it pretty soon. But if y'all don't have anything else to say, I think we're on to Earth X here. Yeah, let's do it.
Earth X.
So we are on Earth X number 8, solidly in the back half here now. We have every issue has been starting with a conversation between X-51 and Uatu, and we get a little reminder that X-51 has deleted his personality. He no longer believes that he's human. He doesn't care about anything. He says, hey, X-51, do you care about the destruction of Earth or its people? Nope. Do you care about Captain America's salvation? Nope. Do you care about the skull marching on New York? Nope. You care for Reed Richards' guilt for what he thinks he did to Earth? Nope.
I mean, I didn't download my personality circuits, but I don't care about these things.
It's true. It's true. But X-51 says, nope, all I do is catalog. That's my purpose. I'm like, okay. And he says, all right, well then, X-51, you're now ready to learn the true purpose for why we're watching. But it's going to take you a while to absorb everything. So for now, just
first, let me show you some pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah. We get this time.
I wish the Eternals movie had done that. You know what? Let's just show some Spider-Man. That's more important. That's better, right? That's cooler. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, the history this time is Spider-Man getting bit, his origin, all that. Uatu has some interesting takes here. He says that Peter chose to work at a newspaper because he felt responsible for the world's safety, and that he picked a publisher who hated Spider-Man because so did Peter. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess.
I thought Uatu, but then Uatu, like 2 pages later, is like, don't worry about context, just report the facts, man.
Well, here, and X-51 reminds him when he's talking about hate, and he's like, "Hey, Uatu, there is no hate, no fear, no guilt." Uatu
I read that on a T-shirt.
Uatu is talking about Peter feeling guilt from the death of Gwen Stacy, and also some guilt when he married MJ instead. And X-51 reminds him there's no such thing as guilt. And Uatu's like, right, there's not. But look, you have a lot to learn about the celestial seedling. Guilt is like an inbred safeguard for the celestial plan. And X-51 is like, what are they safeguards against? Against the birth, of course. Wait a minute. Did you just ask me a question? And X-51 says, I see Peter Parker wearing the black suit. And Uatu's not dropping it. He's like, asking questions would require curiosity, which you don't have. You deleted your personality. Hey, wait a minute. You never deleted your personality, did you? Cancel the download of information. Terminate it. Terminate it. You don't get to know everything. And X-51 says, too late. I know everything you don't want me to know. And they have a little bit of a long back and forth here about this. While they're in the middle of it, John Jameson, the werewolf astronaut, walks in and he's trying to ask for help.
What a sentence. The werewolf astronaut.
I really love this scene where he's just trying to talk to them. Like, hey, can I get your help here? And they're just arguing.
It is, it's like X-51 was originally appeared in a Marvel adaptation of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It is like a scene from Space Odyssey where you're like, what is happening?
But X-51 says that Uatu has manipulated all of humanity to meet his own ends, and it's gross. Uatu's like, your feelings are understandable, but he's like, I thought you said my feelings were nothing. And the meaning was, you said there was no right or wrong, so how can you even be mad at me for doing what I did? He's got a point. Also, this scene makes the last issue even funnier with all of the quips that X-51 was throwing out. Like, it's great.
Yeah, I assume he was doing it in like a fake flat robot voice.
Yes. John Jameson is still trying to get their attention. He's like, hey, I need to warn Earth. You have to help me. And that gets X-51's attention. He's like, hey, let me tell you about Earth right now. And so we see what's going on the planet. Captain America is building an army of allies to stop a single boy. He has what's the Inhumans dog's name? I couldn't remember it.
Lockjaw.
Thank you, Lockjaw. He's got Lockjaw's wishbone teleport thing. Mm-hmm. He teleports into Tony Stark's shelter with his whole crew, saying, "I need your help." And Tony Stark is going, "Oh my God, you've contaminated this place with germs. Get out of here." And Tony's like, Cap says, "That's not important right now. The skull is in NYC. He's controlling everyone he sees. Is this why you contaminated me?"
He's like, I'm sure the robot Avengers will have already taken care of this by the time I'm finished with this sentence. And then you see the robot Avengers being controlled by this kid.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not picking up a signal for some reason. And we get a big invasion of NYC scene while Cap is telling Tony he can't possibly know what's going on and the loss of freedom and that people are still able to talk and speak their own thoughts even when they have no control of their actions, all that kind of stuff. He's got Namor. He's got some freak that casts illusions, all that. We see Skull in the middle of this invasion. He's saying this place stinks. Get rid of all those squid people. They're gross, the Hydra stuff. And Sam Wilson flying overhead sees that She-Hulk is dead as part of Hydra.
Is it Sam Wilson? Is it Red Wing?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's Wyatt Wingfoot, right?
Wyatt Wingfoot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said, we just read. Sorry. Yeah,
dude,
I got mixed up from the Captain America.
It is confusing.
They also named. I continue to say this. Wyatt Wingfoot renamed himself after the Falcon's pet bird.
Falcon. Yes.
It's not Sam Wilson. It's not Falcon. It's Wyatt Wingfoot as Red Wing,
who named himself after the Falcon's Falcon. And who has also had a relationship with She-Hulk and has said that I guess her zombified corpse has been left in the dirt.
Yes.
It's all very overcomplicated. So
yes.
There's a lot
but we are going to be particular and accurate at the same time.
Yeah, we mentioned that werewolf astronaut. We need to mention this. By the way, She-Hulk also dated that werewolf astronaut.
It's true.
Did we go over the part where where RJ Jameson is raising a different werewolf because he thinks it's his son?
We haven't gotten
in the text at the ending. But we do have May is like, I have to go fight the skull.
We're skipping way ahead. Hold on.
Okay.
We got Sergeant Luke Cage of the NYPD. He orders the Red Skull, or not the Skull.
This was awesome.
To cease their attacks, and then his own men turn their guns on him and shoot. But the bullets bounce off of Luke Cage and kill all the guards themselves. Great scene.
Cage is so mad that the Red Skull did that.
Yes, he's like, "You freaking monster!" Then we get Peter Parker and Mayday Parker talking on a roof. Mayday is saying, "Hey, Luke Cage asked you for help, Dad. Don't you want me to die too? I'm not going to sit around doing nothing. I'm not waiting for you. I'm going to go out there and do stuff." Mom might have thought you should have never been a hero, but I don't. And Peter takes great offense to this. He says, "May would never talk to me like that. Let go of her, Venom." And she said, "Grow up, Dad." And she gets out of there.
I do love, he's just like, it must be this alien symbiote that made my teenage daughter rude to me.
Yes, it's great.
My daughter is polite.
Then we have Reed and the Thing. They're walking around trying to discover why everyone is a mutant. Reed still is wearing the Cerebro helmet, and he's like, picking up on everyone's signal. And he's like, nobody's registering as mutants. They're all registering as Inhumans. And he kind of realizes, like, oh, none of this was my fault. I didn't cause this at all. Okay. So that's that. He's realizing what's going on.
Wait, what is this? The Marvel Universe of the last 10 years? No one is a mutant. Everyone is an Inhuman? What?
Yep. The Inhumans are still hanging out at Doctor Doom's castle. Luna is changing right now, and her skin looks all gross, and like half of her face is green and splotchy, and she hates it because she looks ugly, and she's supposed to be marrying a prince. But Karnak explains, like, hey, she's becoming like us. It's the Terrigen Mists are gifting her with her new powers. I didn't realize there were Terrigen Mists in the Earth's atmosphere, but Maximus must have released them. Maximus is famously a villain of the Inhumans, Black Bolt's brother. And Karnak is like, yeah, he tried to create a new Inhuman nation years ago, but I thought his bombs were dismantled and he didn't make it happen. And Medusa's like, yeah, it couldn't have been Maximus. He's dead.
And it's just sort of looks over at Black Bolt, whose face we can't see.
Yeah, but you can tell he's got some kind of expression under there, probably. Maybe. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner has fucked up big time because his counterpart, the Hulk, is stuck in the realm of the dead along with Thor, and he is stuck out there with Clea and Loki. And we were wondering last time, is this Loki or is this Nightmare? Is that who we're wondering who it is? I don't remember. But it is indeed Loki, just looking all freakish and gross. And Bruce is blind. He can't see anything because his eyes are in there with Hulk. And Loki asks for a moment of silence for his departed sister. Remember, Thor's a lady now. Bruce asks why Clea did it. And I thought they went over this last time. But they're talking about this, and Hulk and Thor climb their way back out of the realm of the dead, like holding onto the rope, climbing his way out. Stephen Strange helped them get out. Loki gets out of there. He doesn't want anything to do with it.
Immediately pieces out.
Yes. And I like the reveal as well when Clea is looking around for help and is like, hey, where'd Loki go? Clea goes to attack Thor. Thor says she won't allow this genocide. And there's like a big explosion at the sanctum. But I guess it's like a teleporting thing. That's what Loki made it sound like. He's standing outside saying, taking the shrew home to father. So that gives me the impression that she somehow teleported Clea over to Asgard.
Yeah.
And Loki says, Midgard is mine at last. Now, where have I placed that troll and his blind pet? Then we have Captain America, who is now in Russia, asking Colossus for help. Colossus said his people need him here. He can't help. And Captain America is like, listen, the Skull will not be satisfied. He's just a kid. Once he's done with America, he's going to take over other countries. He's not going to order your people to work the land. He's not going to order your people to eat because he's just a stupid kid who's not going to think about that. And everyone's going to die. So I'm asking for your help to save the world. Before Colossus can answer, Nick Fury attacks through the window. What? And he yells, rotten red-plated Pinko Ruski, we should have nuked your holeless butts back in the big one. Holeless butts.
Holeless butts.
Holeless butt. And it's like, wait a minute, what is Nick Fury doing here? And it's another life model decoy that is easily disposed of. Colossus says, throw him with the others. He explains that they've been attacking Russia for years because their programming's gotten all fucked up without regular maintenance. And he says, yeah, I'll help you, Captain America. I like that scene a lot. I think it's such a throwaway kind of gag, but just like, yeah, there's a bunch of life model decoys out there who don't know what to do. So they just eventually attack Russia. Yeah, sure.
All the Y2K programming or whatever.
Yes.
Should immediately prize.
Yeah. May Parker is fighting Iron Maiden up in the sky. while Peter Parker is basically like playing parent assistant coach on a rooftop nearby, saying, "Hey, don't pick a fight for no reason. Okay, good. Now get out of there. Get out of there." But he is also taking pictures. He's wondering why the Skull isn't just controlling both of them. And we see Skull say, "Nothing like babes fighting, eh?" But then May wins. She webs up Iron Maiden's face so she can't breathe, and she falls down. Skull is impressed, calls her a hottie, and asks what her measurements are. And then May can't move her arms and her legs, and Skull says, must be because you're in love." Very creepy. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think this guy's a villain of some sort.
Then back up on the moon, werewolf astronaut John Jameson asks, "Why are you showing me all this?" And X-51 says, "Because nothing you have to say to the Earth right now could possibly help them. Your warnings are going to be way too late. Their roles in this are too small. They're too limited in their resources." John Jameson was like, "But I can't just give up. There's people down there that I care about." And that text is played over Peter walking past Melvin's shop with a Spider-Man costume in the window.
Oh, yeah.
Friend of the show, Melvin Potter.
From our previous episode about Spectacular Spider-Man, the Gladiator.
Then we see President Osborn. He is talking to the Ox and I guess the rest of his cabinet advisors, whatever.
His evil cabal.
Cabal, yeah. And he's like, why haven't the Iron Avengers taken care of this yet? What am I paying Tony for? And then the Skull walks in and he says, "Hey," he says, "when a president is still president, but someone else is about to take over, it's called a lame-o. That's what Texas Jack told me." And he's like, "No, it's a lame duck." "Oh yeah, lame duck. Can a lame duck fly?" And that is the cliffhanger.
Wait, maybe I'm turned around. Maybe he's good.
Maybe he's good. No. Yeah, nice little cliffhanger. The appendix here was pretty interesting this time. It didn't read like the others at all because it had John Jameson and X-51 and Uatu talking to each other. So it had a little bit of a different vibe to it. And John Jameson is asking, like, "Hey, if we can see anywhere on Earth, can we see what my dad's up to?" And X-51's like, "Sure, yeah, I see him. He's
big hobo beard.
Hobo beard. He's hanging out at the Bugle."
Another old man with a giant beard.
Yes. They all have giant beards. The Bugle is closed down. It used to be the biggest paper in NYC, but it lost all its credibility when Spider-Man was revealed to be Peter Parker, who worked for the Bugle.
Whoops.
Yep.
Whoops.
All closed down now. He's there. He's holding some like food or something in a paper bag, and he's feeding a werewolf named Jack Russell, because he might think it's his son John Jameson. And John's like, no. They told my dad they told me they'd tell my dad where I was and everything. And they're like, well, it's possible.
Maybe he just loves werewolves. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But that's kind of the main part of the appendix. They talk a little bit about the Kree and the Celestial Plan and all that, but nothing too crazy important over there.
So what is the Celestial Plan that Earth's gonna... Is it like the Eternals movie where Earth is like a giant egg for a Celestial to be born inside of Earth?
Something like that, yeah.
Destroying all life on Earth, right? That's the plan.
Yeah, I think we'll learn more about it as we go as well.
And that's what Galactus, he's going to fry up the celestial egg in a big omelet.
Like an ostrich egg, because it's big.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That sounds good. I'm down for that. But yeah, end of Earth X number 8. The last issue we mentioned was starting to get a little bit better. This one felt really, really good. Compared to everything else we've read, it felt like a different series altogether almost. Like, not really, because it's building off of everything we've kind of had to wade through to get here. But man,
the pacing, Chris, like I think said last time, like the pacing is like so bad, and like what stories it chooses to tell in the appendix versus not is also just like very haphazard. Yeah. Not this issue, but the past issues, like. This is much better.
And I think you were mentioning this last time,
to see what's
Vince.
happening.
Yeah, you were mentioning it's just so much more satisfying when you see things start to come together and everyone's like in the same place and communicating with each other instead of just being alone with random narration that doesn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've seen a fair amount of him, but this is a breakout issue for, the young Red Skull, who reminded me of Prez when he starts threatening the president.
Yeah.
He reminded me of Vince McMahon, actually.
Well, I hate that you would compare Prez to Vince McMahon. Prez,
I was not comparing Prez to Vince McMahon. I was comparing the skull to
The
Vince
little
McMahon.
Nazi boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, the Red Skull's like a evil version of Prez, but
You're right.
Like his sort of like goofy teenageness, just like not taking anything seriously reminds me of Prez. And then when he confronts the president, it's like, maybe I'll be president.
Yeah.
Seems cool. I'm enjoying this character who is just like, he just seems bored by whatever he's doing. So it's just like whatever. And then Cap, like understanding how terrifying it is like he doesn't have a plan. Like he's just doing this stuff. Yeah. So I'm enjoying all of it. I will say, I mean, I think I've been hinting to Vince the Inhuman reveal for like 5 issues. Yeah. So it's like finally Reed catches up to, all the hints that I was like, yeah, they're laying this on very thick when the Inhumans are like, oh yeah, that thing, forget it. We said anything.
They're all Inhumans. That's what the transformation was.
But good stuff. Next time, of course, Earth X number 9. And then for our main read, we are going to be reading some Injustice, a little DC alternate universe thing, which I have never read, but it's got a video game made after it. So it's
no. The opposite. Nope. It was a tie-in for the video game.
Wait, it was a video game first?
It's from the Mortal Kombat team. The Mortal Kombat team they got bought by Warner Brothers, so they made a Mortal Kombat style game, but for DC characters. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, let's do a tie-in comic. We'll release it digitally. Who gives a shit? And then most people are like, this comic is way better than it has any right to be for just like a tie-in to a video game. Like people really I liked it when I read it. I thought it was pretty good. It's the core Justice League cast. I think it's like the video game is like, so you can have Batman beating up Superman. It's like an evil Superman fighting. He's gone fascist or something. And the comic is the 5 years leading up to Superman becoming a fascist. So,
well, okay. This was 2013, written by Tom Taylor. Various artists. I don't know who wrote the first trade here or who drew the first trade.
I do know that Bruno Redondo, his Nightwing collaborator that we covered, is going to be some of the issues that we'll read. Oh,
cool.
This time. So.
Yeah. So we are reading the first trade, which covers issues 1 through 6. Except be aware that when they were released digitally originally, they were just like super tiny bite-sized kind of comics.
Yeah.
So issues 1 through 18 digitally got collected as issues 1 through 6 in the first trade.
Yeah. So it's the first year of Injustice, which was like 12 total issues, paper, 36 digital. So half of that, whichever way you go.
Is this going to be a 2-parter? Are we going to read the whole?
No, we'll just read the first half of it and see if you like it. If you don't like it, then we won't read it. Otherwise, we'll come back to it. And there's a fuck ton of it. There's like 5 years of it.
5 years?
It like went on so long. like people are like, this is way harder than it has any. It does. You don't need to go this hard, guys. But they did.
All right.
They even it even overlapped with, I think, He-Man at one point. It got crazy.
Of course. A natural crossover.
Actually, I kind of want to read that. I'm very interested in that, to be honest. There should be more He-Man.
I think there's a new He-Man Netflix show that's like in the top 10 right now.
There's a new He-Man board game that was supposedly pretty good as well.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, who knows? It's a big resurgence for the Masters of the Universe. Let's put that on the list. Let's read some He-Man.
Just any He-Man.
Any He-Man. I don't care.
He-Man meets Archie. Does that exist?
I think there's a licensed comic. I forget who made it in the 80s. I'm sure it's great.
Possibly. They should do a Skeletor miniseries. I feel like that would be...
like that Space Ghost Alex Ross comic?
That was not actually good. It was weird.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was so curious and intrigued by it because it was just like, hey, what if we did a serious Space Ghost story where he's fighting a genuinely evil
Zorak army?
Zorak, yes. I kind of want to do that for the show. We shouldn't. It was not interesting, but
it wasn't interesting enough to be bad.
Yeah. The good art. It have Alex Ross art?
Yeah, and I want to say it was who was it? It was like a painter artist on the inside.
What a world where Alex Ross did Space Ghost art. What the heck? And now I'm Googling it so I can look at it again. That was so beautiful. That's why I read it, really. Space Ghost by Alex Ross. Put that on the damn list. I don't give a shit if it's bad.
I mean, they should have made it funny with art like that. That would have been a good contrast.
It really would have. It really would have.
Or gone like,
We have hope for a future. Okay, no, but I was looking up a Skeletor comic book just to see if anything has ever happened. Skeletor comic. No, I don't think so.
Oh, Space Ghost was already on the list. It's the top of the April Fool's list. Go
something to pitch whenever you get hired at Kia.
Wait a minute.
Like, what stories do you have? Like Skeletor origins?
This picture. Hold on. The Wikipedia page for Skeletor, the main picture is art by Alex Ross. Everyone needs to know this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alex Ross is 1,000,000 years old. He has the love of this stuff that I'm like, how could you have nostalgia for this?
Hold on. Same with He-Man. Hold on. Is every He-Man character's main picture on She-Ra is not. She-Ra is just a regular picture.
We're not covering any He-Man.
Alex Ross refused to draw She-Ra.
Sexist.
Yeah, definitely. This is probably the most we will ever talk about Space Ghost, but I'm glad we were able to fit it into this episode somehow, off the cuff. What else do we need to say? Have we said everything we need to say? What's plugs? What's going on with you, Chris? What's the Your Stupid Minds podcast up to?
Your Stupid Minds is going strong. We just had an episode released, our second episode of the worst of 2023. We covered Gal Gadot's Heart of Stone, a movie we all remember. That Heart of Stone fever swept the nation in 2023. We talk about it to this day.
Y'all said that it was a 9-figure movie?
Yes.
So that's like what, 100 million in the 100 millions?
Netflix spent almost $200 million on this movie, promoted it for probably a weekend in the summer of 2023, and then just forgot about it.
I never heard of it.
It's a Gal Gadot Mission Impossible style action film, shot in Portugal, Iceland, and someplace else. So a bunch of practical locations, a bunch of actual stunts that were done, but a lot of also just CGI nonsense stunts. But a big budget movie that no one saw, and it's okay. Greg Rucka, I guess, came up with the concept, which we did not think was particularly strong, but. But yeah, it was a fun episode to talk about. Netflix is just, they release these movies, they spend all this money, and then just they're like, yeah, who cares? It truly is just they don't promote their own films at all. They're just like, look, we have a TV show from 10 years ago.
Here's a question: have we ever read a Greg Rucka comic?
We read like Batwoman, but we haven't done like Queen and Country. Or Whiteout.
We did the first arc of Gotham Central too, right? Which is Brubaker and Rucka.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've done like his, and I don't know if we did his Wonder Woman or not, if I'm being honest. He did that. He did a few runs.
I don't think we did. We probably should, because that first arc of his is really good. Or the Hikatea or whatever, the painted art special he does.
Yeah, put that on the list. We'll do a Rucka month. A Rucka.
Yeah.
Rucktober.
Recreation.
Rucktober.
I really like that. What else? Vince, what's going on with you?
Nothing. I'm just playing the new Yakuza Like a Dragon game, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It's the third Yakuza game released in the last 12 months. It's pretty good. A new Ichiban game, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And me, I didn't sleep last night. I'm a little loopy here. That's my plug. Brotato. I've been talking up Brotato. It's coming to Game Pass. A simple little game, good little. I don't know. I wouldn't really call it a roguelite. It's like a Vampire Survivors, like super quick little runs, less than like 15, 20 minutes a run. Probably shorter your first time because you're gonna die. Give it a try. And I'm still playing Miles Morales. It's good. And sleep.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep. I think we're going to end the show so that I can go to sleep. Vince, thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, Thank you so much. I love you.
Sputnik.
Oh, he can only do that one once. It won't work next time.
Makes Kia pass out immediately.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much. I guess I'm doing the outro then. Bye, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see y'all around.